Not many people of London remember what the site used to be before it was reborn, despite the fact it was one of London's most visited places. Their collective memory mainly remembers the bright yellow trusses of Spitalfields, which sheltered an exotic variety of food from everywhere you could imagine through its multicoloured canvas. The space felt like a world in another world. The delicate smell of the exotic fruits would inevitably teleport you to Southeastern Asia, contrasting with the pungency of the Indian spices would inevitably invite you to unknown microcosmoses. However, the visitors were only passengers back then, somewhat flâneurs amongst the ongoing circulation movement of food from everywhere in the world.
But what is it really? The spirit of a place if you cannot stay. This is how much the space has changed. Not only that it invites you to stay even if you do not live here, but it makes you get absorbed by every uncanny corner which makes you want to be a part of. In fact, I can tell you that the site has finally gained its own spirit of the place, or so-called genius loci, because you can feel its environmental energies in every part of it. We had to learn to be self-sufficient, and we weren't quite sure of what that actually means, despite the fact that we are bombarded on a daily basis with factoids and ubiquitous information about the urgent state our planet is in. We have realized that we lost the sense of what good food is, or more importantly, where does our food come and the hard labor it actually takes to produce it. That made us not only disconnect ourselves from food, since we have forgotten about its sacred powers, but more importantly, from ourselves.
The technocratic era we're part of accentuated these disruptions by giving us constant illusions of gratifying fantasies that we are never alone, that we can never be where we want to be, unconsciously chasing our psyche and behavior, making us dependent of it. So we realized that we forgot about the simplicity of what is the good life anymore. We forgot about how to think of what actually matters and how to make time for it. Within these paradoxes, technology surrounds us on a daily basis. We realize that it will take over our future more. So we have started to wonder, what if instead of preventing it, we acknowledge it and we learn how to become fully aware of it, paradoxically? What if instead of preventing our sight to get fully flooded, we won't go against nature, rather we will work harmoniously with it and use it within our benefit where new relationships and behavior could unfold? What if through a more mature with technology, we could reconnect through food and ourselves?
In fact, this is how our community was born, on paradoxes, on the rules and rhythms of nature. We learned in time how our ecosystems work, and we have carefully applied that on our site in multiple scales, from the way we built our new territories around a newly formed flood and water infrastructure and wetland, which will mitigate the right amount of water on site for reusing exactly the needed amount for our crops and the living areas. The force of water helps us gain energy through our underground hydro plant, which feeds our community and its productive landscapes. The city is not confined by any limits anymore. You can be anything you desire or fear. Before, intricate ecologies were our enemy. Now they are our friend. The productive landscapes are meant to bring the community closer, not only to food, but also to its processes. They are meant to teach you about the harvesting process and seasonality, but you should know that self-sufficiency is not achieved from the beginning. From the communal gardens, rooftop terraces, from the first phase, every neighbourhood has its own identity due to the specialised programmes, where old techniques are transmitted further. In its final phase, when the automatic programme integrates into the site, it learns how to become self-sufficient, and we don't need to reach out to London for supplies any longer.
We want you not to be a flâner any longer, rather to become a spectator and a participant of various processes, scales and time frames on site, either natural or man-made. We want you to get fully immersed in it, every part of it. The site almost wants you to feel that it is edible. When you get to become a spectator of the strawberry production process, From planting on the steel grating through the tray seeder machine to freshly harvested, you finally understand everything works in a tandem, just like our planet and ourselves. Everything is a living system, and we are finally part of it. We are alive again.
Another lesson we have applied from nature in the way our communities' neighborhoods work is in the intertwinement between growing, living, and celebration. We have also learned this lesson from our history, where we have treated our cities as disparate entities. Now we know that our only way forward is through juxtaposition. If you find yourself wanderlusting through the intimate familiar alleys, it is inevitable not to get a sense of that through the market that it invites you in with its abundance of veggies and fruits. What is unique about it is the fact that it is the ground floor of the living areas which creates not only farm-to-table scenarios, but also a sense of locality amongst the community.
You need to remember that food is celebrated in various ways on site. In some parts, it acts as a monument which directs your flows through the building, either when the water levels are going up as you walk through the building, while grasping the growing process and you catch the glimpse of the water moving either through a transparent well on your left side next to a farm, or when you enter the public house and you will see it feeding the vertical automated farms. It makes you wonder what is natural and what is man-made. Where did that border stop? Well, it was there all along, except that we weren't conscious of it.
You see, we have also understood the importance of porosity in the making of our new cities. This being another lesson we have learned from our modernist past. Through its lenses, we have left the space for new frameworks to unfold, which can create new rituals. You see, it is utterly important to understand that these are not answers to the paradoxes I mentioned to you earlier. They are possibilities of new rituals constructed in those paradoxes. They are letting us dare to dream of what that good life could be. If we would finally have time to lay and see the cherry blossom petals falling in the river every spring ending, the newly formed floral river is reminiscent of hard work and adverse conditions that this landscape is never the same. Just like its buildings, it is constantly changing and adapting, in time together with the seasons, just like nature. The floral river forms created in its own festival every spring, or frameworks which rather leave the possibility for the inhabitant to rediscover what that relationship could be. The shared hydroponic terraces are an example of that, where not only a closer relationship to food growing is unfolded, but also new harvesting rituals. We are also acknowledging the fact that at the moment we are solitary as a result of technology, appealing to us when we are most vulnerable. So we are purposely leaving space for that solitude to unfold. We are leaving space for letting ourselves be immersed in worlds we didn't have the courage to be in, and letting ourselves become part of alternate vivid reality. We learned how to be pristine again. You need not to forget that these scenarios will unfold, naturally in time, in their own tempo.
Before, when the water levels went up, people thought it is a catastrophe, but they become perplexed in time by its paradoxical healing power because they realized that it can be used in their benefit. They have chosen to be empowered by it, and now everybody wants to be a part of it when its highest water levels determine new ways of living and new systems of working. Rachel Carson says, "But man is a part of nature, and his war against nature is inevitably a war against himself."
The sound and voice of the landscape changed after the water took its uniqueness. That metamorphosis made time heavier until, gradually, new life forms started to appear. The stillness and heaviness of the air finally made it possible to dream a new dream.